In the two books, All the Way in Boot Camp and movie The Hunger Games, there is a common message underlying some important characters. It becomes evident in each one of these that choices a character makes can ultimately affect others around them and their own life. In this presentation, I'm going to summarize the two books and the movie and explain the connections of each of these, where a character's decisions have affected their lives and the lives around them. In the nonfiction book, All the Way is written from the perspective of NHL hockey player Jordan Tootoo. He is from Rankin Inlet, Northern Canada. Jordan was a fearless hockey player. He wasn't very big or skilled, but he played like a warrior and stuck up for his teammates, and his coaches loved him for that reason. Off the ice, Jordan had a lot of problems at home. His parents were alcoholics and were not there for Jordan when he needed them most. Jordan also struggled with alcohol addiction too. When Jordan was asked to play for the Brandon Wheat Kings Junior B, he quickly said yes to the offer because he wanted to move away from home and leave his family problems behind. His brother Terrence, who had a close connection with him, got a DUI, and he felt like his life was over because he would never get a chance to play in the NHL anymore. Terrence took his life, but told Jordan specifically in a note to go all the way to the NHL. Jordan made the decision to follow what his brother said, and when Jordan was putting up big numbers and played really well in Brandon, he was asked then to play in the NHL for the Nashville Predators. Although he made it, he was still addicted to alcohol, and the team sent him to rehab. Once he completed rehab, he was a new person and went back to playing in the NHL. He felt like he accomplished his goal, and he could feel his brother's presence with him every game he played. In the fiction book Boot Camp by Todd Strasser, the main character Garrett is a kid who made some bad choices in his life, such as stealing cars and money from his parents. Those bad decisions led to his parents sending him to a place called Lake Harmony, where his bad behavior would be fixed. The camp made everything worse for Garrett because the camp leader Joe treated him very poorly. Garrett's parents did not know they treated the kids poorly at the camp. He and his only other friend at the camp, Paul, wanted to go through with an escape because they wanted to be done with what the camp was doing to them. The escape failed and they were brought back to the camp. Garrett then began to realize that the only way out was to behave the best he could. He made a decision to change his behavior. After Garrett's good behavior for around a month, he was finally released from Lake Harmony, and his life was back on track. He stopped doing all of the things that got him to Lake Harmony in the first place so he would not have to go back again. Lastly, in the movie The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, the main character, Katniss Everdeen, lives in a city called District 12 with her sister Primrose and her mother. The Hunger Games is a gladiators-type contest with one guy and one girl from each of the 12 different districts, and they battle to the death until one person remains. The games were instituted as a punishment for the 12 remaining districts of Pan Am for their failed rebellion. Pan Am is all of the 12 districts together. The names were drawn from a bucket, and Katniss's younger sister Primrose was drawn. Katniss made a quick life-changing decision for her and her sister. For the protection of her sister, Katniss quickly volunteered and took her spot. She and the male tribute, Peeta Mellark, battled through and ended up winning the Hunger Games as the other 22 participants were killed. Katniss got to return home and reunite with her mom and her sister Primrose. So now I'm going to talk about how these books all connect to each other. So one of the main messages that is portrayed in the two books and the movie is that choices that someone makes in their life can strongly impact the rest of their life and affect others. In the book, All the Way, Jordan and his brother made so many choices that impacted them. Jordan's brother Terrence made a very big decision of ending his own life, not knowing who it would affect. He must, end quote, he must have said, "I'm spent. My hockey career's done, and what else have I got?" Quote. This quote is Jordan trying to piece together of why his brother would do this. This affects Terrence's life because he's no longer here. But it also affects his family and friends and the rest of their lives. It affects Jordan by energizing him to become a great hockey player in the suicide note that Terrence wrote for Jordan. In the fiction book Boot Camp, this message is also portrayed, and life choices can strongly impact the rest of their life. The rest of their life and the lives around them. Garrett made a lot of bad choices in his life that led him to being sent to rehabilitation. In the book, Joe, the camp leader, says to Garrett, in your case, quote, in your case, parents who expected you to come home at night, go to school during the day, not take drugs, not steal money, and listen to what they said. This quote is how Joe the camp leader is trying to get into Garrett's head. And he wants Garrett to know that he should stop doing any of these bad things because it may not end well for him. These are all bad choices that Garrett made before the rehab. These choices greatly impacted the rest of his life because he ended up going to rehab and changing his attitude so he wouldn't do those bad things again. He made the decision at the camp to simply change his behavior that ultimately changed his life. Lastly, in the Hunger Games, Katniss made a massive choice that could have costed her own life just to save someone else's, which is her sister. When Primrose was drawn to participate in the Hunger Games, Katniss immediately volunteered in protection for her sister, although this choice had a high chance of getting herself killed in the Hunger Games. This choice ultimately defined her character and destiny. This is why the two books and the movie clearly show that the choices we make can greatly impact the rest of our lives and the lives around us. In conclusion, All the Way, Boot Camp, and the Hunger Games all have a similar important message, being choices that someone makes in their life can strongly impact the rest of their life and affect others. The two books and the movie portray this message very well and are very good for learning about life choices and the impact they can have on your life and others. Thank you.